Baldy. We've been talking about it all day long. Before we get into the games from Super Wildcard Weekend or look ahead to the divisional round, we've been talking about the Brian Daboll stuff. There have been now some articles in the last couple of weeks here about him and Wink, about how Daboll handles his staff. I'm sure you're up to date on all this stuff. What do you make of what's going on with Brian Daboll and the New York Giants?
Well, I mean, big picture, guys, the Giants are a better team and a better organization if Wink is a part of it. If, the coach wants the right-hand man of Wink Martindale fired, in Wilkins and his brother, no coach is really going to tolerate that. It's all about loyalty. And, you have loyalty to certain people, that filters down the staff. The head coach is, he calls the shots. He's able to do that. But, the defense coordinator is also allowed to stick up for his guys and how valuable they are. So, Bobby Johnson is gone. I don't know what the status. Obviously, I think you got to get to cooler heads, because if one guy is storming out the door and leaving town, something still has to get resolved. So I don't know where it's at right now between those two, because I haven't been in a room with them. But, I'd imagine that this looks like an irreparable marriage between the two.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely over. But so I think the bigger issue, though, is how culpable here is Daboll. It seems like Wink was leaking stuff. And I would push back a little bit, Baldy, and say, why the hell should Daboll be loyal to Wink Martindale when Martindale was trying to usurp his authority? I don't owe you anything.
Well, if that's the way it went down, then he certainly has that right to do it. But why don't you just fire him? Just fire him on the spot, like you did Bobby Johnson. Why keep it around? Why keep it hanging? If that's what you felt like was happening, and look, I don't know if that happened or didn't happen, but if that's the case, then if the coaches don't have your back, then there has to be a change. If that happens, so then you just do the right thing and fire a guy. That's what you should do.
And how about Baldy, not just between Daboll and Wink, but the latest report that came out basically has Daboll as being, what's the right word? Very tough on game days, yelling at his coaches, potentially blaming guys for certain play calls or certain results.
Doesn't take accountability was a big part of it, they said.
Maybe lacking accountability to the point where general manager Joe Shane had to come in and listen on the headset and the communication during game days. But just Daboll's maybe rough edge or tough coaching in general. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't have a problem with tough coaching. Nobody was tougher on their coaches than Bill Parcells, and he won a whole bunch. So I don't have any problem with Coach being tough on him. But, who's being tough on the offense? The offense stinks. It's unwatchable. So who's getting tough on that part of the side of the ball? Is Joe Shane giving somebody the business about how bad the offense is? Okay, you fire the offensive line coach. The offensive line never came together from week one. You're not scoring touchdowns in this league. You're not winning games. So, who's being tough on that side of the ball?
That's a good point. No, it's got to be equitable. We're talking to our buddy Brian Baldinger, Baldy with us here, BT and Sal on the Fan. So these are issues that are obviously big, but listen, some issues can be overcome if you have talent. And when the season ended, if you had to rate the Giants' overall talent 1 through 53, give us a grade. Where are they at from a talent base right now?
Well, I think they've upgraded defensively. Okereke, is an upgrade. I think Deonte Banks is an upgrade. They've upgraded a lot of positions. I think John Michael Schmitz is an upgrade at center. Once he got healthy, he's an upgrade. So I think they've upgraded a lot of positions. But, is Darren Waller really a priority piece?
No.
With another injured year?
No.
If they bring him back.
I may have lost Baldy there.
We lose Baldy. All right, see if you could get him on back on the line there, Hoff. And I'm going to transition to, after this answer about the Giants, to transition to the wildcard games, because I'm curious what he thinks of not only the Cowboys, but obviously the Eagles falling apart and potentially what's going to happen here moving forward. Look, he's right in one aspect of it. It can't just be all one-sided against the Giants' defensive staff. Obviously, the offense was a big part of what went wrong this year, and Daboll's bread and butter is the offense. And look, he does agree with the hard coaching though aspect of it, where you talk about Bill Belichick, who Daboll worked under him. As I was saying before, where do you think he got it from? Working on that staff or with Saban, those guys are hard on their coaches because I guarantee you that their head coaches were hard on them, and that's just part of the deal. And we have Baldy back with us.
He's
here.
back.
All right, insider calls are brought to you by Old Spice Gentleman's Blend Body Wash, providing exfoliation plus 24/7 moisturization because men have skin too. All right, Baldy, just to pick it up here, we're talking a little bit about where the Giants' talent is. Do you think the disparity between where the Cowboys and Eagles are is now as great as maybe we thought with the way that they've played in the postseason and where they're going as far as where their disparity is with the Giants?
Well, there's a disparity. I mean, when you lose 40-0, there's a disparity. If you look at the two Cowboy games against the Giants, there is a disparity. There's no comparison between the Cowboys' offensive line and the Giants' offensive line. None. So you could do a whole lot more with it. Now, we saw a team get taken apart, by the Green Bay Packers, but that's postseason football. It's played at a different level. You have to execute at a higher level, and we saw the Packers execute almost flawlessly. And so, but that's what you need in the postseason. You need a quarterback to play at the level that we saw Jordan Love play at, and we have yet to really see that in the postseason from Dak Prescott. So they've got a lot of decisions to make. But, if you said, okay, how does that compare to the Giants? Well, we just don't see that type of execution from the Giants on any side of the ball. So I would say it's still a disparity.
Gotcha. Yeah, and listen, Jordan Love was doing things that, the arm slots, the zip, the anticipation, it was just incredible. So you look at Jalen Hurts, there's a massive disconnect there, and you don't just implode the way the Eagles did without some real inner issues. What is going to happen down there?
Well, I would think that both coordinators would be let go if they keep Nick Sirianni. I'm sure Mr. Lurie, the owner, is probably trying to take a deep breath and trying to calm himself down after watching that disaster last night and to really think through this with cooler heads. But they have fired a Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson 2 years after they won a Super Bowl. When they went 4-11-1, the quarterback went south, the offense fell apart, and next thing you know, there was a complete house cleaning. So it's not like they haven't cleaned house before when there's been a collapse before. So it wouldn't surprise me to see it, but I like Nick Sirianni. I do think the coordinators need to be changed, and I think talent-wise, they've got to fix the roster. They're way too slow on defense. They need corners. They need some playmakers on that side of the ball, and they lack on that side of the ball.
What do you think of the Cowboys, Baldy? Do you think that they should make a change at head coach?
It'd be hard for me, honestly, after watching this for 3 years in a row now, to just bring it all back and say, let's run it back. After you've seen this complete implosion in the postseason from the offense, regardless of how many points they score, what rating they have, or anything like that, it'd be hard for me to think that Jerry Jones could just bring this back and go, okay, let's tweak it, let's upgrade, here, let's do I think there's something fundamentally wrong with how they play the game when you get to the postseason. And so I'm sure they could go out there just the way it is and win 11, 12, maybe 13 games next year because they have talent. But CeeDee Lamb got completely, he caught passes, but didn't do any damage. And, they look like the quarterback can't rise to the moment. And so do you make a change there? Because what we saw from Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud and some of these guys, that's how you got to play in the postseason to win and to advance. And their quarterback hasn't played like that in the postseason.
I don't get it, Baldy. We're talking with Brian Baldinger here, Odyssey Insider, NFL Insider. You mentioned a couple of the quarterbacks. We see C.J. Stroud do it. We see Jordan Love do it. Now, I know Love sat behind Rodgers for a while. And then you see guys like Tua and Dak have some success in the regular season, but then in the postseason, it's a flop. How are we supposed to evaluate quarterbacks in today's NFL where there's so much inconsistency? Baker Mayfield, another guy, left for dead by multiple teams, yet now he's going to play in the divisional round. How are we supposed to properly evaluate quarterbacks in the NFL and understand what you have versus what you don't have over the course of, however many years you want to take to evaluate those guys?
Well, ultimately, quarterbacks only should get evaluated by how they play in the postseason, by getting to the postseason and how they play in the postseason. Because the quarterback has to elevate everybody around him. That's like completing, stick throws in the red zone, for touchdowns. It's completing third downs to stay on the field. All those kind of things you have to, and you're going to have to make 5 throws that at the end of the day you go, how the heck did he just do that? We saw it from Josh Allen last night, on the touchdown throw to Dalton Kincaid. I mean, it's an absolute dime against the coverage, and he read it right, and he threw a perfect throw. So how you evaluate these guys has to be in the get to the postseason, then how do you play in the postseason? And it's almost like 2 different sports when you start looking at that quarterback play.
I think if I asked you this next question a couple of years ago, it would probably be pretty boring because your answer might be predictable. I have no idea how you're going to answer this now, and I want to hear. Let's say you're a GM, you have access to every quarterback bowl. The next 5 years, for the next 5, what 3 quarterbacks are you going to roll with right now?
I would take Lamar because I've seen a real improvement in Lamar with the coaching changes in the town around him.
Okay.
I'd take Lamar. I think I'd take Jordan Love. And then I'd probably battle real hard between Brock Purdy and C.J. Stroud from what I saw from Stroud in, 18 games this year.
You're not taking Mahomes?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. I got it. Gotcha.
It's almost like you just take them for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, who else is out there besides Mahomes? But, look, there's Josh Allen. there's these guys that are
Burrow.
in the final 8. But, you got to look at the youth and look at, in the history of the Green Bay Packers, from Favre to Rodgers, nobody's ever had a quarterback rating as great as Jordan Love in that game.
I know.
In Dallas, on the road against that defense.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to – it's a young man's game. You've got to find these guys, and you have to develop them. And if you don't have one, you got to find it somehow.
Yeah, I'm curious where you stand on Herbert. That's something that me and Sal debate quite a bit, and assuming that, say, Harbaugh's there – Herbert is, to me, he's special. What do you see?
He looks really special at times in pregame warm-up. He looks really special. Put the ball in his hands. Let's go back to – I know we don't watch a lot of Charger games, but go watch him with the ball in his hands at the end of games with a chance to win a game and see how good he's been. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been he's exactly what you want physically from an arm, how he spins the ball, all that stuff. But – quarterbacks got to go win games sometimes. You just got to take the team down the field, and you got to elevate everybody around you. And we have not seen that from him.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think he's got that
true.
sack that we're looking for, BT, we were talking about. We're talking about Brian Baldinger, Odyssey NFL Insider. All right, Baldy, I have a couple for you on this weekend's games here. You mentioned the Packers and Jordan Love and how good he looked, and you mentioned Brock Purdy. That's going to be a hell of a matchup Saturday night. I think the Packers are like 10-point underdogs or close to it. You think they have any chance, Green Bay, to win this game in San Francisco?
I think they have a chance. If you look at just the games this year, you look at Minnesota beating San Francisco, or Joe Burrow in Cincinnati beating San Francisco, or even go back and watch Baker throw the ball against San Francisco. Teams have had success throwing it against them. The ball's got to come out quick. You can't let Bosa and that group kind of dictate what you do offensively. But Aaron Jones is the hottest back in the league right now. They're going to have their hands full with him and the way that they run the ball and what Matt LaFleur does in the run game, which is diverse and creative. And then the quarterback just believes he belongs with a bunch of young guys that people are just discovering. But I think they have a chance because I think offensively they can score.
Baldy, can you explain? I know Sal was asking about this weekend, but I got to just do a little side swipe here with Jordan and, bring it to the Jets and the Giants. Can you explain the difference? Because it can't all be luck. It's got to be something tangible. How the Packers, not 1, not 2, 3, and none of them were in the top 10, top 5 picks. In terms of their quarterbacks here, how they consistently draft these guys, identify them, take them, develop them, and they become stars. And the Jets never do that. What is the biggest difference?
Well, okay. They traded for Favre. Okay, he was in Atlanta.
Falcons, yeah.
Okay, they traded, so you look at Holmgren and Favre. And then they draft Aaron Rodgers, and he sits for 3 years behind Favre. And then when he's ready, he's ready. And then they draft Jordan Love, and they sit him for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, and he's ready. So maybe it's about looking to the future, even when you have a quarterback, looking to the future so that the transition isn't as painful as it is for a lot of other teams.
Yeah. The hard thing,
as
that's
opposed
interesting.
to going to get one when you desperately need one and trying to chase.
Yes, that's where you
get
have
one
a lot,
ahead of the game.
You got a lot of misses. I almost think, Boldy, while that's a sound philosophy, I think that's easier to do in Green Bay. Like if we were doing that here and we had a kid on the bench, second pick, fourth pick, third pick, fifth pick, and things aren't going great. Granted, they were going well in Green Bay, hence that player could sit. But, to protect the kid and let him grow for a year or two, I don't think it would happen here because everybody would be going, no, play the kid. Why is he sitting? Put him in. It would be a totally different energy.
Well, it might. I mean, they drafted Patrick Mahomes, and he sat behind Alex Smith for a year. Now it's Kansas City. But, even when they drafted Eli in 2004, Kurt Warner, I think, was 5-2 as a starter. When they went with Eli, he had a 0 quarterback rating in his first start against the Ravens. But they felt like a half a season was right for Eli. Maybe I don't think it was too soon for Eli. We turned out to be,
right.
Eli Manning. But I don't know if you have a guy that can still do it, and that guy just the trick is the guy that you have has got to still be able to play, which can allow you to sit that guy that you draft. Mm-hmm. And even though you want to go see him in New York, and the pressure to play him in New York is going to be good, if the guy is winning games for you, like Kurt Warner still is a little mystified that he was pulled at when they were 5-2, and they went with Eli. So the trick is the guy that you have as the incumbent, can he still play at a high level, which allows you to sit that guy for however long it is.
All right, Baldy, we appreciate your time. We'll enjoy the games this upcoming weekend, divisional round, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
Okay, guys, you got it, man.
Thanks, man. And by the way, Sal, did you know he's Nassau Community College guy? Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
He's from Long Island?
Massapequa High School.
I had no idea.
Me neither.
When did you learn that?
Just now.
I had no idea.
I was looking something up, and I was on his page. We got to talk some local stuff next time we have him on.